Ciao everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome to this week's video. Today I'll be talking a little bit about Nauli Kriya, and for those of you who follow me on Instagram, you may have seen on some of my stories this kind of contorted, almost demonic looking abdominal exercise that I've been posting, as I have only recently stumbled upon Nauli Kriya and I've been practicing it daily to get really good at it. So today's video will be going over what Nauli Kriya is, some of the benefits, and then some of the exercise progressions that you can use to work up to the final execution. So let's start today's video off with just exactly what it is. So Nauli Kriya actually falls under the umbrella of kriyas, which in yoga are the cleansing processes of the body. And there's actually 6 distinct kriyas to clean many of the major areas of the body, including the nose, throat, the frontal sinuses, the intestines, and some actually involve concentration. So in yoga, it's kind of encouraged to include some of these into your daily practices to make sure that the body stays clean and up and running to its full potential. So a few words of caution regarding Nauli Kriya. You should not practice this if you are currently pregnant or trying to conceive, if you have any kind of kidney-related problems, and you should always do this on an empty stomach. So my recommendation would be to do it first thing in the morning, before you put anything in your stomach, including any liquids. It should really be empty down there, as it will help you work the full range of motion of your abdominals. Nauli is one of the kriyas, or shatkarma, cleansing exercises from yoga. The exercises claim to serve the cleaning of the abdominal region, digestive organs, small intestine, and is based on a massage of the internal belly organs by circular movements of the abdominal muscles. So Nauli Kriya focuses specifically on the digestive region and cleansing the processes involved in our digestion. So some of the benefits of Nauli Kriya include strengthening the abdominal wall, regulating and stimulating digestion, and then also helping with the process of peristalsis, which are the contractive movements that our intestine uses to help our food matter along, help it continue on its way out of our body eventually. And if not trained, this contraction can actually grow weaker over time, as it takes quite a lot of effort for the intestine to contract and help move the waste along. So something like Nauli Kriya helps to stimulate these muscles again and strengthen them so that your digestion can stay nice and regular. So as I mentioned in the intro, I found this practice online about 2 months ago, and it was so fascinating to me, and it was something that I really wanted to try out. But the final wave-like motion does take a lot of mind-muscle connection and a lot of abdominal strength. So I used these progressions to work up to that final motion, and I dedicated about 2 to 3 weeks on each progression until I really had it mastered. Again, I was practicing every day for about 5, 10, sometimes 15 minutes to really narrow in. That's also because I'm impatient, so if you all have a longer timeline, then feel free to spread these out. But my message to you is to really make sure that you have the first progression nailed before you move on to adding more complex things. So getting into what this process entails, the first thing it's really important when you do this, are called bandhas. And the bandhas are locks. So it's really important before you practice any kind of abdominal manipulation, muscle manipulation, that you have the bandhas down. You'll inhale, full exhale, and then you'll lock the stomach. So the lock entails holding your breath, holding the retention of the exhale, and then drawing your belly button back towards your spine as much as possible. You should see the bandhas actually in 2 locations. One would be the stomach, when you pull the belly button back towards the spine, so there will be one lock there. And the second will be a little hold, or like a dip that appears near your throat. So you should see both of these if you filmed yourself, or you can have a friend look to make sure that you're doing them correctly. So I'll try to show you the throat one now. It's also really important that before you inhale again, you release the bandha, you release the lock. So say you have your belly button pulled towards your spine, make sure that you push the belly out again before you inhale, because it's quite intense on the stomach and intense on the lungs if you don't fully give it space for the lungs to inflate again. So step 1 is the bandhas. So step 2 of this Nauli Kriya journey was a flicking motion. And throughout my research on how to progress to the final wave, this is something that a lot of people recommended. So once I had practiced the bandhas for about 2 weeks until I could hold my breath and felt comfortable really pulling in my abdominals for about 20 to 30 seconds, I moved on to this flicking motion. And the flicking motion entails continuing with the same. So all of these progressions are done in sequence to the final stage. So the bandhas performed, you pull the abdominals in towards the spine, and then from there, with the exhale being retained, you flick the belly out without breathing. So everything is still being held and you flick it out almost like a belly dancer would. So try to channel your inner belly dancer when you flick it out. Again, remembering to release the lock before you inhale again. And I would say I practiced this again for about 2 weeks and tried to get as many flicks as I could before I couldn't hold my breath anymore, and really tried to exaggerate the movements. That's something I could say that would help. You may find there are better cues for you that work as you start experimenting with your own body, but try to imagine your mind is in your belly, that you can have this really strong mind-muscle connection between your abdominals and your mind. And the last phase of this journey I'm calling the isolation phase, because once I had the bandhas and then I had been practicing the flicking motion down, I felt that my mind muscle connection was much stronger, that my abdominals were getting stronger, and it was time to move on to isolating both sides, both obliques and the central part of my abdominals. And this, I would say, was definitely the hardest stage, because it's not an area that at least I wasn't used to isolating or to thinking that much about. But it entails, again, performing the bandha, the stomach lock, pulling the stomach in towards the spine, and then from there, one thing that I heard that kind of helped was performing the middle one, is imagine that both of your obliques are being pushed towards the center. If you're doing it correctly, it should come out, the sides should still hollow, and it should push out like a roll down the center. So that was one thing that helped me. Another thing that I tried to isolate, this was performing a bridge. And then on the exhale, releasing the hips down, retaining the bandha, performing the stomach lock from there. And then with the breath held, looking up towards my stomach. This can also help, again, isolate that central abdominal region. And then the same goes for either side, so either oblique. One position that I really found this to be helpful, or found I was able to do this in, was in downward dog, because gravity helps everything kind of fall into place. So from there, from the central one, I worked on isolating either side. And you can definitely move your body to assist, but this was one process that I worked up to for a long time. I think this one was the one that took me the longest to get comfortable with, because you are working on isolating the area that doesn't normally get much attention. So from there, from the isolation phase, you can work into the final progression, which is the wave. Your timeline, of course, may be different, but then it's putting all three of those parts together. So putting maybe you can start on the left side and roll from the left oblique to the center, to the right, or vice versa, and just trying to work in this wave. And if you do this in the morning on an empty stomach, you will definitely feel things being massaged and starting to move. And it's just, I find, a really wonderful way to start my day now. I'm definitely not there yet. I find it easiest to do still in downward dog. The hardest I have found is either standing or sitting. I find just more control in downward dog. So these have been my tips to help you all. If you all try it and work up to this final one, and you have anything that I missed or things that helped you, different cues that helped you, please let me know down below, or shoot me a message on Instagram, because I would love to know and I would love to keep improving on this. So thank you all so much for stopping by today. I know that this is kind of a fringe video, maybe it's not for everyone, but I had an interesting time doing it, and it's only been 2 months for me, so we'll see where things go. But if you are all interested in more of these kind of videos, or just different experiments you can do with your body, feeling out different areas, then please let me know down below. And or if you are just kind of done with this, also let me know. And I look forward to seeing you all here next Thursday for a fresh video. Take care and try this out. Let me know how it goes. All right, ciao guys.